Hello and welcome to this session. I think it's session 5 now of your Learning and Skills Mentor program. We're going to be looking at duty 3. So last week we were looking at individual learning plans, creating learning, looking at those agreements, and kind of setting those foundation blocks. So we're going to pick up from there. So without further ado, let's go to it. So today then, we're looking at duty 3. We're going to select and use monitor models, tools and techniques to support mentorees to make desired changes and then look at demonstrating responsiveness to meet the individual's mentoree needs. So let's log on. So the way in which we're going to establish these relationships, very much as we've covered in duty 1, duty 2, we're going to assess the mentoree needs. So that's your initial assessments, diagnostic tools. You may be doing skill scans, you may be doing recognition of prior learning, and you may do that via formal or informal assessments. So you may be asking them, or there may be some kind of skills test in which you want them to do. You'll then select the relevant mentoring models. So the mentoring models really looks at kind of different approaches. So are you going to allow it to be mentoree led? Are you going to be the mentor that leads? So you need to kind of choose your model and then agree your objectives and then outcomes. And again, there's a model on there called GROW, so cognitive behavioral coaching and transformational mentoring. So the GROW model as well looks at a mentoree-led model. You're going to be using your active listening skills around communication, nodding, etc., and all of the paraphrasing, repeating back. You'll be providing that feedback and guidance, encouraging those goal settings, use reflective techniques, look at coaching support. Customize your approach for it to be learner or mentoree tailored, centered, monitor the progress, facilitate those skills, offer constructive criticism, and then look at celebrating success. So you've got your reading material here. So you can run through that, have a look at that in your own time. And again, that's just looking at understanding the different mentoring models, choosing the right tools, meeting the mentoree needs, etc. So a bit of self-reading. So let's have a look then. So mentoring magic, techniques to support mentorees. So again, we'll look just at the basics. We've covered a lot of this already, so I might skip through some of these points because it does start to become a bit repetitive. We've covered this in duty 1, duty 2, but what we're looking at is the mentoring tools and techniques here, addressing the needs, building trust, overcoming the challenges, best practice, monitoring success, evaluating. We'll cover a bit of the ethics, diversity, and some development stuff. So during this presentation, we'll look at meeting the desired needs for change. We'll look at mentoring as a powerful tool through personal and professional relationships. And again, we'll look at developing new insights and skills to overcome challenges. So we've already covered what is mentoring. We know that mentoring is a professional relationship where an experienced person, the mentor, supports a more inexperienced person, the mentoree. We've covered benefits already, but we'll just do a quick recap. So the benefits then, again, is it allows the on-the-job learning, the guidance and support. It allows us accountability in achieving goals. It gives greater insight. It allows support for problem solving. It can build confidence, self-awareness and communication. So lots of positive reasons. The mentoring models, there are various mentoring models that can be used to support mentorees to achieve their goals. One of the most common model is the traditional one-to-one mentoring. This is where the mentor provides guidance and support to a single mentoree. The model allows personal attention and tailored support, but it may also create dependency on the mentor and limit exposure to diverse perspectives. Another model is group mentoring, where the mentor works within a group of mentorees which shares common goals and characteristics. Matching the mentor and the mentorees. So matching the mentor and mentorees is a crucial part to a successful relationship. It's important to match the mentor and mentoree based on their needs, goals, and personalization. For example, a mentoree who is seeking guidance in career development may be beneficial from a mentor with experience in the same job function. So it's useful, for example, if you're in health and social care, if you've got an interest in mental health, to be paired with mental health. If you've got an interest in adult or social care, be paired with somebody who's adult and social care. Mentoring tools and techniques. So mentoring is a powerful tool. Obviously, it's used for personal and professional development, but it's not always easy to know where to start. Active listening is the key steps. It involves hearing what the mentoree has to say, and then obviously moving the way forward. Feedback is also important, as that allows constructive criticism and engagement. Reviewing those goals can help both the mentor and mentoree stay focused and can produce a roadmap. We've already talked about that. We've talked about active listening in the last couple of sessions, so we know what active listening is, and we've talked about feedback as well. We've reviewed goal settings, so we know goal settings need to be SMART, and again, we've said we need to look at organisation of paperwork. So assessing the mentor's needs is a crucial step in tailoring mentoring to meet those needs. The mentor must take time to understand their goals, strengths, and weaknesses. So, conducting a SWOT analysis. This involves active listening, asking open-ended questions, or again, it could be extended questions or filtered questions. So if you're not sure about your question techniques, if you go to our functional skills, we cover that in the speak and listen element. By doing so, mentors can identify areas where mentorees need to develop, and then obviously you can address those. For example, if a mentoree wants to improve public speaking, then the mentor may provide resources on effective communication and offer feedback on presentation skills. This then creates the opportunity for the mentor to practice speaking in front of others. Alternatively, if a mentor is struggling with work-life balance, the mentor may help them to prioritise tasks, set boundaries, and manage stress. The key is to tailor to the specific needs of each mentoree rather than using a one-size-fits-all approach. Part of the relationship is built in trust. Trust is the foundation of the successful mentoring relationship. Where the mentoree feels that they can trust their mentors, they are more likely to open up, share their challenges and goals, and seek feedback and guidance. As a mentor, it's important to build trust, as well as mentors being open, honest, reliable, and respectful. This means keeping your promises, maintaining confidentiality, and showing empathy. Equally, another way of building trust is to establish clear boundaries from beginning the boundaries. This includes discussing topics that are off limits, how often you need to meet, and what will be communicated. It's important to actively listen to meet the mentoree's concerns and validate their feelings. So overcoming challenges. So with any kind of dynamics within teaching and learning, there's obviously going to be obstacles and boundaries in the way. So mentoring relationships can face a variety of challenges, from communication breakdowns to conflicting expectations. One common challenge is the lack of commitment or follow through on part of the mentoree. This can be frustrating for the mentors who invest time and energy in supporting their mentorees. To overcome these challenges, mentors can set clear expectations and hold their mentorees accountable for meeting them. They can also provide regular feedback and support. So it's about that role modeling and empowering your learners. Another challenge is the power dynamics inherited through the mentoring relationships. So again, to overcome these challenges, create safe and supportive environments where mentors can feel comfortable sharing their experiences. So mentoring best practice. So mentoring best practice are essential for establishing successful mentoring relationships. These practices include setting clear expectations, build trust and rapport. By following these practices, you can create a safe and supportive environment. Mentorees explore goals and decisions and desire changes. Another important part of best practice is open communication and reflection. So again, all very similar to the stuff we've covered so far. And then measuring success. it's obviously important that we measure success. It's a critical component for any successful mentoring program. It allows mentors and mentorees to track progression, identify areas for improvement, and celebrate success. There are several ways to monitor success, including setting goals, tracking progress towards those goals, conducting regular check-ins to assess mentorees, soliciting feedback from both mentors and mentorees. One effective way is to measure mentoring success is to use such tools as a mentoring scorecard. These tools allow mentors and mentorees to rate their progress in various areas such as communication, goal setting, and problem solving by regularly assessing progress using this tool. Mentors and mentorees can identify areas such as improvements and those approaches. And if we have a look at, we'll have a look at that later. Mentoring evaluation. So evaluation is a critical component as well. So after we've measured success, we can do our feedback. And then obviously the important part of the feedback is we're using that as a 360 approach. So for ourselves and others and quality improvement. Mentoring ethics. So maintaining or mentoring is a relationship built on trust, respect, and mutual benefits. As a mentor, it's essential to maintain ethical standards. So if you go back to your codes of practice that are set down by the Society of Education Training, or indeed Ofsted, or you may have your own code of practice within, say, for example, nursing or your sector. But ultimately, you're looking at things about truth-telling, autonomy, non-malevolence, benevolence, etc. So kind of those principles, and then you'll be looking at those theories as well as like the virtuous theory, etc. To maintain ethical monitoring practices, mentors should establish clear boundaries, avoid conflicts of interest, and respect confidentialities. They should strive to create a safe and inclusive environment. Mentorees feel comfortable with sharing their thoughts and feelings. Additionally, mentors should be aware of power dynamics and avoid exploiting their positions of authority. So mentoring and diversity. So mentoring plays a crucial role in promoting diversity and inclusion within the workplace. By connecting individuals from different backgrounds, cultures, mentoring can help break barriers and foster understanding and respect. Successful mentoring relationships across diverse backgrounds and cultures can lead to increased cultural awareness, improved communication, and enhanced problem solving. Mentors can provide valuable insight and guidance on navigating the complexities of working in a diverse environment. And again, same for career development. So mentors can be a valuable tool for career development, so as it provides mentorees with support. So again, around career development, if you think about the matrix standards, so getting on, moving out or off into the world, we should be giving good information, advice and guidance. We should be talking about career opportunities. And again, if you look at my hot topics, we talk about career opportunities in health and social care. So kind of having an insight to those opportunities is where you need to be. Personal development. So again, personal development for yourself and for the mentorees is really good practice. Keeping a log, monitoring what you're doing, looking at your strengths and weaknesses, and then using a variety of tools to help assess and monitor that. So in conclusion, mentoring is a powerful tool for personal and professional development. It provides mentorees and guidance with supportive feedback to help them achieve their goals and desired changes. Throughout this presentation, we've explored different benefits of mentoring, mentoring models and tools and best practice. So I would encourage you all to consider mentoring as a valuable tool within your own personal and professional development. And whether you are mentoring or seeking to guide, support, or mentor, looking to share your experience to make a positive outcome in someone's life, mentoring can be rewarding and fulfilling. So I have whizzed through that because it's starting to become a bit samey of what we've already covered in the last two or the last three duties. There's some references there, so have a look at those, and then you know how to contact me. Great. So let's move on to the next block. and we can cover the assessment criteria. So the first thing we're going to talk about is then your behaviours. So B1 looks at demonstrate and promote sustainable practice with mentees. So when we think about our relationship building, and we've just covered that through that PowerPoint presentation, a lot of building those relationships are going to be built upon leading by example. So demonstrating friendly habits, looking at being positive, creating sustainable concepts, looking at ethical practices, looking at career pathways, encouraging lifelong learning, promote a positive work-life balance, collaborate on projects with your mentee, develop and promote that diversity and inclusion, share resources, celebrate achievements, and look at voluntary opportunities. So there's lots of ways there in which you can develop relationships. B3 looks at being resilient and adaptable. So being resilient and adaptable when dealing with challenging and changing, maintaining focus and self-control. So one, we need to develop a growth mindset, and that's apparent through good mentorship. And that growth learning is that person that's constantly inquisitive, constantly looking for the next learning opportunity, constantly trying to upskill themselves. And for us as mentors, we have to be absolute advocates for that, because if we go, well, what's the point? I just don't see it. You don't get paid for that. Then why would anybody do it? What I tend to say to people is, the old cliches of knowledge is power, and the pen is mightier than the sword, and with knowledge comes great responsibility. So you can do some great one-liners to try and encourage this mindset of continual learning. Practice self-reflection. So with self-reflection, I think we've covered the reflective cycles, but if you haven't, you'll do it through the teacher learning cycle as well. But practice self-reflection. So pick a reflective tool such as Gibbs, such as Ralph's, and practice that ability to be all-rounded, to listen, to hear, and to understand. Part of resilience is seeking support and knowing when to ask for help, staying informed and up to date, building your network around you, maintaining mindfulness and stress management. So I would say that's more to do with when you're dealing with challenging hazardous behavior, when people are pushing your buttons. Just be mindful of your adrenaline level, breathe it through, don't let your heart rate race, don't let feelings play part of this. Stay in control so you're not responding to the flight response or the fight response, but you're maintaining that professional boundaries. Set realistic expectations. If you set people up to fail, they'll fail, and then they'll just be demotivated. So little and often targets. Maintain that flexibility. So again, ask them, just say, what's coming up this week? If you've got holidays or birthdays or parties that you're going out clubbing, what's going on? And then work back on the time that they've got. Because if you set unrealistic expectations, if you put too much pressure on people, they break, they're not interested, and you lose that relationship. But if you can be flexible, then you end up in a win-win situation. Remain positive and optimistic. So that can always be quite challenging when you're with somebody that's never optimistic. So remain as optimistic as you can. Cultivate resilience in your mentee. So teach them good coping skills. In my YouTube channel, we talk about coping skills, we talk about emotional intelligence and resilience and all that lot, so have a look at there. And the best one, learn from failure. B2, work for ethical and legal standards for professional boundaries. So again, familiarise yourself with code of practice, establish those boundaries, maintain confidentiality, avoid conflicts of interest, obtain consent or informed consent, ensure voluntary participation, people aren't being pushed into it, but they're doing it willingly, address the power imbalance, avoid providing professional services outside expertise, comply with legal obligations, and handle ethical dilemmas, professional, and seek supervision and guidance. B4. Sorry, B4 looks at demonstrate mutual respect and a deep understanding of equality and diversity with learners, colleagues, and appropriate agencies. And again, same thing as it. It's leading by example, creating that inclusive environment. So you're able to remember what it's like being new to a role, right through to becoming more senior, remaining positive, promoting your E&D, educating on diverse issues, try and avoid any bias or stereotypes, and if you hear it, address it, adapt to individual needs, that's that personal-centered thing, respect privacy and dignity, promote collaboration, teamwork, address any discrimination and harassment, seek input from diverse voices, so look at how you can collaborate with others, and look at that environment for continual learning and growth. So K1 then is about understanding roles and responsibilities, and we've already covered this one in previous slides. So here we're just making sure we understand our roles and responsibilities. So going back to what we said last week around those contracts, looking at the mentees, the organisations, legal, ethical and safeguarding. K3 then is how to plan for a mentoring session and review revised action points. So once we're ready to sit down with our mentoree, we're going to establish clear objectives. What is it we're going to try and do? We're going to create those mentoring schedules, so our scheme of work over a period of time. We'll prepare those sessions, those schemes. We'll set clear agendas, which could be co-produced. We can look at our progress. So we go back to our scheme, our individual lesson plans or ILPs, whatever you've got. We'll revise any of those action plans and we'll provide feedback. We'll document any progress and we'll look at that reflection and evaluate it. It's important that we maintain methods of communication throughout. And this one I definitely think is a buy-in on both sides. So what tends to happen is the mentoree goes, oh, I sent you a message, but you didn't respond. And I go, right, well, there's many reasons why I didn't respond. However, how many methods are there of getting hold of me? So you could have found me in person. We could have done a virtual video. You could have called me. You could have emailed me. You could have texted me or WhatsApp me. We could have collaborated online. There's software that we could use. So there was more than one way of communicating with me. And what I tend to say to all of my mentorees is, this is your journey and I'm here as part of that journey with you. And if you need me, if you want me, then you have to reach out as well. So part of your journey is asking for help. And if I don't respond immediately, then don't kind of use that as an excuse for you not to do something. Make sure that you continually chase, because ultimately there's one of me as the mentor and I may have several mentorees. So the ownership, you know, the responsibility relies with you as well to chase me. So don't just do the whole, but I sent you a text message and you didn't respond, because that causes a breakdown in relationships quite quickly. I think it's those clear expectations and boundaries. When we're with our mentorees, we're obviously going to be questioning and listening. So lots of different questioning and listening techniques here. So we've got open-ended questions. That's ask a question that requires more than a simple yes or no. So tell me about your day. Oh, it's been hot, cold. You've got that reflective question. So paraphrase the response. Oh, so what you're saying to me is, it was hot today. That gives you a yes or no. Clarifying the question. So can I just clarify this? What do you mean by that? Oh, I mean, probing questions. So probing questions is why kind of like, how do you feel about that? What did you learn from that? Tell me more about that. So you keep digging. I love the 7 whys on that one. So the probing questions, just keep asking why 7 times and you get to root cause analysis. That's really interesting. But why? That's a really good point. Why do you think that happened? That's a good idea. But why do you feel that might be the best course of action? And then solution focused question. So encourage the mentee to think about the problem. So in other words, things like, well, what do you think we should do? What would you do differently next time? What approach should we take? So they're your question techniques. And then our listening techniques are the active listening, which we keep talking about, everyone keeps talking about. We've got empathetic listening. So the empathetic listening is I can see that might be difficult, really trying to connect. That must be hard. Or I couldn't imagine what that would be like. That's kind of your empathetic listening, that nodding and just saying a few kind words in there. Non-verbal cues, so nodding, eye contact, avoiding assumptions, so refrain from making assumptions about feelings. Paraphrasing, so just summarising what they've just told you. Pause and silence. Pause and silence is such a powerful tool, So with pause and silence, ask the question, just go dead quiet. And we should be able to sit in silence, but it's really uncomfortable and it allows time for people to think. So use pause and silence. Okay, that's a really good point. What do you mean by that? It kind of gives the assumption that you're thinking about what you're going to say next. So you're not an auto response. Follow-up questions. Okay, so you told me it was sunny today. Was it sunny all day? Was it hot all day? What temperature was it at? So that's that follow-up question. And avoid judgments. So lots of different questioning and listening techniques there to use. Methods for providing feedback on progression. So when we give feedback, so as we're supporting the mentee to progress to achieve their targets and goals, we're going to look at different feedback techniques, and those feedback techniques could be specific feedback. So when you're meeting a goal or an objective, and then you're giving a very clear line of improvement. The sandwich technique, positive, negative, positive. Growth orientated feedback. So frame feedback in a growth orientated manner, emphasizing the mentee's potential for improvement rather than focusing on what needs to be done. Timely feedback, so offer feedback as soon as possible after the task. Private and confidential feedback. Let's go away and have a discussion about this. Ask for feedback first. So encourage the mentee to self-assess. I love that one. Always do that. Use I statements. Frame feedback from using I statements to avoid sounding judgmental. For example, I noticed that in your presentation, a lack of clear structure instead of your presentation was disorganized. Encourage self-reflection. Ask the mentee to reflect. SMART goals. So collaborate on those SMART, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound goals. Feedback as a continuous process, so just ongoing, and then celebrating that and encourage two-way feedback. So again, create an open environment where both the mentee and mentee can share feedback with each other. K16 looks at evidence-based practice informed by own research, and it's important as a mentor that you are using evidence-based practices, and it's important for the mentee to realise that they should be following evidence-based practice. So ultimately, when we follow evidence-based practice, we should be looking at identifying a relevant research topic. We should be conducting literature reviews and making sure that we're using that. We can collect data and conduct surveys. We can use data for tailored interventions. We can measure outcomes and progress. We can stay up to date on research topics. We can look at monitoring integrated research sessions. We can collaborate with experts. We can contribute to research in our field, and we can seek feedback from mentees. So there's lots of ways in which, when we talk to our mentors and we give feedback, ultimately we should be giving evidence-based feedback. So if we're saying to somebody, you know, that was really good, however, the national guideline on this is, so don't be it from your opinion. When you give feedback, let it be factual, let it be evidence-based. And again, you might want to use that evidence-based feedback approach or evidence-based practice as part of your mentor-mentee agreement. So for example, you may be monitoring somebody, I don't know, let's say you're monitoring somebody, assessing a patient from falls, and you go, you know, that was a really good head-to-toe survey. I really like the way that you did X, Y, Z. However, for next week, could you just research the national guidelines around this to make sure that the practices in which you've just done are right? And if what you've done wasn't right, what would you do differently next time? Because ultimately, you don't want to be giving the answers away to everything. You want to develop this curiosity, this problem solving, these research skills that people should have. And again, I always think, you know, if somebody asks you a question and you don't necessarily know the answer, there's nothing wrong with saying to somebody, I think that'll make a great research project for this week. Why don't you go away, have a look at what the evidence is around it, and come back and we'll discuss it. So the skills then for this duty then looks at the mentoring process within organisations and this professional boundaries. So when you do this in practice, you should be establishing clear goals. You should be respecting confidentiality and privacy. You should be looking at those standards of ethics. You should understand your safeguarding principles. You should avoid any conflicts of interest. You should look at your professional development, promote inclusion, communicate consistently, constantly review your mentorees, document this, and seek support for those relationships. When you agree those session plans with the individuals, you need to conduct those sessions according to the agreed plans. So again, going through your plan with the mentoree, review your contract, prepare the session, making sure that it's organised, necessary, the resources and discussion points. Create a supportive environment, ensuring that you're welcoming, you're non-confrontational, and that you're free from distraction. Follow the agreed times, so, and especially the end time, the session ends on time. Address mentorees' priorities. So again, just look at what's going on in that week and try and help them arrange their diaries. Encourage those open communications, ask guided questions, provide constructive feedback, and we've just covered those and how to do that. Celebrate achievements, set those plans, document their progress, stay flexible, end with a recap. So today we did this, next week we're doing that, and then encourage accountability. So making sure that they know what the agreement is and what's expected from that plan. When we sit down to assess and review progress, the skills here are looking at agreed outcomes and re-advising or revising those action plans. So looking at what we've done, looking at what's been produced, giving that feedback, and then we're going to review that process again. So it's kind of plan, do, review, plan, do, review. Keep that in mind. If we think about assessment, plan, collect, judge, feedback. So plan, collect, judge, feedback. We're going to plan the activity. We're going to collect the evidence. We'll make the judgment. I'll give you feedback. We go back to plan. So that's the assessment cycle, really. Plan, collect, judge, feedback. Or if you're looking at reviewing, plan, do, review. So we'll plan this, we'll do it, we'll review it. Either model works well. So we'll establish the review. We'll look at the measurable indicators. So what is it we were going to achieve? Have we achieved this? Have we signed it off? Have we not signed it off? We'll collect feedback and data. So what's the evidence? Conduct reflections. So what went well, what hasn't went well. Celebrate the achievements. Great, we've done this. Let's sign those off. And assume that you have some kind of sign-off pad, whether it's the care certificate, competencies, whether it's something else, you'll be signing things off to say that learners have achieved certain milestones. So celebrate those milestones, identify areas for improvement. Again, we talked about identifying areas for improvement. Don't just come up with stuff for the sake of coming up with stuff. If it's constructive, it's developmental, that's great. And if you can't think of anything, ask them. I guarantee they'll always be harder on themselves than you. Once you've gone through the plan to review, you're going to go back to the plan. So you're then going to set new objectives and the cycle starts again. So set those new objectives, provide the constructive feedback, again, allow for that flexibility, do the documentation, set new milestones, and motivate and support that learner. S4 then is about implementing and establishing mentoring tools and techniques for those outcomes. So the tools and techniques that you should be using as a mentoree is goal setting and action planning. So what is your tool? Is it an individual learning plan? Have you got a book? What tool are you using? Have you done SWOT analysis with them? So have you looked at their strengths and weaknesses? Feedback and reflection. So throughout their books, have you given feedback and reflection? Mind mapping. So allow them to get to where they need to go to. You could do role plays as a tool. Journaling and self-assessment. So getting them to constantly reflect on their own skills. That learner contract that we talked about last week. Have you got that? Is it there? Do they understand it? Networking and professional development. So allowing them to progress and move forward. Doing case studies and real life work. Time management, I think, is the most important thing as a mentor you can teach your mentoree. Visualization, affirmation, so get them to think about it to boost their confidence. And then emotional development. And that emotional, intellectual development, I've got some videos on that in the YouTube channel under the Mental Health Nurse. So S9, about using those question techniques. We talked about those in theory. So in practice then, you can use question techniques to encourage reflection. So you could use open-ended questions. So open-ended questions require more than a yes and no. So tell me about that. What do you think went well? Reflections, what did you learn from that experience? Clarifying questions, can you explain more? Hypothetical, what would you feel in a similar situation, or what would you do in this example? Scaling questions, 1 to 10. Goal-oriented questions, what steps do you need to take to achieve your objectives? Inquiring questions, what are some of the incidents where success has been handled or challenged? Challenging questions, what if your current approach didn't yield the desired outcomes? And then follow-up questions, can you provide me with an example in a similar time? Provide feedback to the mentoree from the informed progress. So again, using different methods here about providing feedback. So being very specific about those measurements and outcomes. Looking at the balance, positives and constructive feedback, that's that sandwich approach. Use the SBI model. So employ the SBI model of situation, behavior, and impact. Describe the situation, observe the behavior, and explain the impact. We talked about timely, so giving timely feedback, which is relevant and meaningful. Focus on growth and learning, we spoke about. So encourage the mentoree to seek feedback and as a stepping stone to improvement. And there's some others on there to go through. So at the end of GT3, you've got your recommended reading list here. There's some helpful websites here, and then these are your frameworks. So your homework is to go online, have a look at these frameworks to make sure that you've understood them. The important ones here is the growth model, the transformational mentoring model, and reflective practice, because we know what active listening is. Right. And then we're going to move on to duty 4. So the next week, we're going to demonstrate awareness of own values and beliefs. Wonderful. Give me 1 second. Your assignment here is demonstrate awareness of own values, beliefs, and behaviours and how they affect the mentor or mentoree. No, that's not it. Bear with me 1 sec. Apologies for that. That was next week's question, or the next duties question. So your question here is select and use mentoring models, tools, and techniques to support the mentoree in making the decision changes. Demonstrate responsiveness to individuals' mentoring needs. So here you need to explain the significance of selecting appropriate tools, discuss the variations of tools, describe the process, explain how mentors can demonstrate responsive techniques, provide an example, and discuss any ethical considerations. So that is your coursework that you need to do. And then again, just have a look at those tools that we've already spoken about in your reading list. Okay, I wish you all the best of luck and take care until next week. Bye for now.